We start with some breaking news coming in. Justice Lodha has welcomed the Supreme Court order. Justice Lodha has said that this was necessary to get implementation of reforms, which is why they have financial control. He has also questioned how much cooperation he will get in this matter from the BCCI. Let's listen into that exclusive interview.
Another important day in the court for the BCCI and the Lodha panel, and this time it has been made clear the compliance has to happen 2 weeks' time for the BCCI, but in the same time, Justice Lodha-led panel has been given control of the finances. Justice Lodha is with me. Sir, thanks a lot for talking to us. We already knew that funds to state associations were stopped till they comply. That was the order last time. This time, Lodha panel has been given the control over the finances and contracts beyond a threshold, together with an independent auditor. How do you look at this development?
Supreme Court has done what it thought was best for implementation of its order. Let's see how much BCCI allows the mandate to be carried out.
Sir, in the past, the amicus curiae has said that the top brass has to go. He has said that twice in court in the last 2 hearings, because there doesn't seem to be any compliance on the BCCI side. In fact, they said that there is obstruction at every stage. Do you think that time has come?
That again, as I told you, the Supreme Court must have thought that first step should be to have some financial control for having its order implemented, and we must respect what Supreme Court has said.
How do you look forward to taking control of the contracts, etc., of the BCCI, and the fact that you will have to now oversee very major contracts like even the IPL, etc.?
Let the committee first read the order, and then committee will meet and then check out the line of action.
But do you think this is the step in the right direction? Because if finances were not, given to you or an independent auditor, then compliance was difficult.
Of course it is, and once Supreme Court has done it, it's in their wisdom, and I think it's a right direction for having the order of 18 July 2016 implemented.
You mentioned the order of 18 July. The BCCI tried to challenge that itself. We know that there's a hearing in some time on that as well. How do you look at that?
Look, it's a matter between BCCI and the court now. We gave our recommendations, which has now merged into the order of the court, and now Supreme Court will see that whatever objections are there, they'll take a call.
All right, Justice Lodha, thanks a lot for talking to us. So in another 2 weeks' time, the BCCI has to submit a report and have to show that they will comply with the orders. In the meantime, their finances are not theirs anymore. An independent auditor and Justice Lodha-led panel will take control of that. With camera person Amit Kumar in Delhi, Shivani Gupta, India Today.
Justice Lodha's exclusive reaction coming in after a big setback to the Indian Cricket Board in the Supreme Court today, after the SC cut down the board's financial powers in a bid to make them fall in line and accept reforms. The Supreme Court directed that no funds will be issued to state associations till they comply and accept reforms. It also gives power to the Lodha panel to oversee financial transactions. Supreme Court has also appointed an independent auditor to monitor the BCCI financial transactions, especially with that mega IPL contract coming up in just a few days from now. While the BCCI chairman and secretary have been asked to file an affidavit within 2 weeks to chart out how will they continue with the reform process. Next hearing in this case will be held on December 5th.
See, I don't see anything wrong. Of course, maybe this is a sort of a check on the flow and the expenses of the BCCI. It's just that BCCI has already committed to the Supreme Court that they will appoint somebody very genuine and very high-ranking auditors to look after, and at the moment also the auditors are of repute who are doing the auditing of the BCCI. So maybe this is just an extra, I would say, authority which is being put on the BCCI. But I think the matter has become very clear, and if there are 2 weeks, I would still suggest, to the BCCI, and also would request the Supreme Court Lodha Committee, if a few recommendations which are there of the Lodha Committee, if they can be re-looked into and rethought into. And see, the matter is in the court. It is in the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the country. And courts interfere when there is a public opinion or there are things which are wrong, which are serious in nature. There is hue and cry in the country and match fixing and things like that, you see.
Well, I must tell you, my stand's been vindicated. I've lost a lot in my life fighting this menace called BCCI. Secondly, Mr. Chetan Chauhan should know it's an order. It's not they are looking into the matter. It's an order, and the order has to be complied with. The BCCI earlier used to use, abuse, misuse the government machinery. They thought that executive orders can really be put aside, but they didn't realize it was the order of the Honorable Supreme Court. And once an order, judicial order is there, you have to follow. You have to fall in line. I just call them United Alliance, United in Corruption Alliances for Positions. Well, this is all Gidar Bhapki, that's called in Hindi. I'll tell you, even DDCA didn't have any money, but they managed to do it. They haven't been given money for the last 3 years. And thanks to Justice Lodha, who for the first time in all the matches that he was administering, they got profits. Yeah, I think if you know saying in Hindi, "Ab aaya hai oont pahad ke niche," these people always were blackmailing. They are blackmailers. They basically think they are God gift to India to run cricket. And if you see that they were tailors and drapers and stationers who become really big, and who better than Mr. Chauhan would know, who's sitting next to you, that how tailors and drapers have really made hay while the sun shines. Fraud companies that have been there. Once I had a discussion on the same channel when Karan Thapar was doing his To the Point, where I asked Mr. Chetan Chauhan a lot of questions and he didn't have an answer, and he didn't even know that they have never posted a single profit.
All right, we're joined by former India cricketer Nikhil Chopra and senior journalist, editor at Cricinfo, Sharda Ugra. Let me come to you, Sharda, first. Sharda, who does today's verdict impact? Does this impact Indian cricket and the fans, or does this simply impact the administrators who have so far failed to implement the order passed by the Supreme Court?
I don't think it impacts Indian cricket or the fans. I don't think it's going to affect matches that are going to be held unless the office bearers of the BCCI decide themselves to sort of, do things that actually stop matches from being held. I think there's enough money in the BCCI's state associations to run. It would have been interesting if the Supreme Court would have asked all the state associations or asked the banks to tell us how much money state associations have. So the point is that they have gone and they have hit the BCCI. The Supreme Court's order today will affect the BCCI's officials right at the top, where it hurts most, because it is about the outflow of money. And BCCI derives its power from the fact that it has this vast revenue and these vast earnings that are controlled by the officials that there are. That's where the BCCI gets its power from, and that has been curtailed. The most important of this is this massive IPL contract that's going to come up within a couple of days to be opened and to be handed out. And now they've got to have someone from the outside sitting in and looking in on it and seeing whom that contract is finally handed out to. That'll hurt their pride more than anything else. Whether it'll change their position in this matter, I'm not really sure.
Absolutely, but we heard the BCCI president himself a few days back come out and say, after the Lodha panel had put restrictions on financial transactions between the BCCI and the state associations, BCCI president had come out and said that he had put question marks on the ongoing India-New Zealand series. Do you see a similar defense or a line taken by the BCCI given, post today's observations by the Supreme Court?
I would think that is the sort of position that they'll take, that cricket will sort of come to a grinding halt and the world is going to sort of end. But we know that that's not going to happen, because the point is television contracts have been signed, and those contracts will be respected and they will be followed. So cricket will go on as it has gone on, with a vast range of administrators who were seen as very powerful and who were criticized, and it was felt they were seen indispensable. None of that really applies. What happens is that what's being questioned right now, what the Supreme Court has not done is remove them from office, because it said that's an extreme step and we will not do it. As in, this is the indication they've given us at this point in time.
Right.
But it's literally like they're giving them as much rope as they possibly can to see what their response is going to be. And the entire business of state associations associations, they don't function on hand-to-mouth existence. They don't operate through AMIs and cash on demand or the cash on delivery basis. They've got massive funds. They get 25 crores a year, all these state associations. Absolutely. And the state associations, 4 of them are run by the top 4 BCCI officials. So if they want to show that they are willing to implement the reforms, they'll start with their states.
Absolutely. Sharda, just stay with us. We are expecting to hear from the BCCI President, Mr. Anurag Thakur, very shortly. Let me go across to Nikhil Chopra, who's with us. Nikhil, the BCCI has again been asked to submit a reply within 2 weeks saying that they will implement reforms. But we've seen this over and over and over and over again. The BCCI given lifeline after lifeline by the Supreme Court. What do you expect their reaction would be this time, and what action would you see BCCI top brass facing? After all, they have survived the test, isn't it? No action so far has been taken against any BCCI administrator.
Well, I guess, Shobit, the board officials are being given a long rope, like Sharda just said, that they're not going to be removed from office. But I guess you can only toe the line so far. Bottom line is, if there's a judgment that's been passed by the apex court of the country, you've got to honor it. My understanding personally would be, Shobit, is you implement it, you have issues, you go back to the honorable court and saying we've implemented it for this long period of time. These are the difficulties we are having. Can we make a few changes? Not drastic changes. Can we make a few changes and take it forward? But it's going to get very interesting now, excuse me, because if the judgment gets implemented in totality, you have the IPL tender that is up for grabs. And if my memory serves me right, Shobit, if you remember, no ads in between overs. Then does that the value of the tender get changed? I think that's going to be a very interesting point.
Right, Nikhil, just stay with us. We are hearing from the BCCI President Anurag Thakur. Let's listen.
आपके सामने मैं IIT रुड़की के कार्यक्रम में था और मैंने अभी तक कोर्ट के निर्णय को ना सुना है ना मुझे कोई जानकारी मिली है, लेकिन जो भी कोर्ट का निर्णय होगा उसका जानकारी प्राप्त करने के बाद BCCI, क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट का निर्णय है, निश्चित तौर पर उनके निर्देशों की पालना हो।
जैसे लोढ़ा समिति को कहा गया है कि जितने भी ठेकों की जांच है वो करेगा और ठेके भी आगे वही छोड़ेगा, और स्टेट जो काउंसिल है क्रिकेट की, उनको जो फंड है उस पर भी रोक लगा दी गई है।
देखिए, जब तक मैं विस्तार में कोर्ट के ऑर्डर पे नहीं जाते तब तक कोई भी टिप्पणी करनी संभव नहीं होगी। क्या रोक है, उसकी खेल पे क्या प्रभाव होगा, कुल मिलाकर खेल गतिविधियां हो सकती नहीं हो सकती हैं, खेल संघ चल सकते हैं नहीं चल सकते, ये जब तक पूरा ऑर्डर नहीं पढ़ा जाता तब तक कोई भी टिप्पणी करना संभव नहीं है। लेकिन जैसे ही कोर्ट का निर्णय की कॉपी मिलती है उसके बाद ऑफिशियल पोजीशन ली जाएगी।
जिस तरह से
परेशानियां हैं वो सभी खेल संघों ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने रखी हैं और मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है, भारतीय न्याय प्रक्रिया में हमारा पूरा विश्वास है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट उस पर पूरी जानकारी लेकर पूरा निर्णय भी देंगे। लेकिन ये संभव नहीं है क्योंकि मेरे पास अपना कोई वोट नहीं, राज्य खेल संघों को उसको लागू करना है और जब कोर्ट का निर्णय की कॉपी प्राप्त होती है तो सभी राज्यों की एक मीटिंग बुलाकर उनसे चर्चा की जाएगी और सुप्रीम कोर्ट के निर्णय की पालना करने के लिए उनको आगे कहा जाएगा। देखिए, मैं पहाड़ी राज्य से आता हूं, मैं खुद जानता हूं कि यहाँ के खिलाड़ी वंचित रह जाते हैं राष्ट्रीय टूर्नामेंट्स में पार्टिसिपेट करने से, और ये सभी खेल संघों को जो यहाँ पर जितनी अलग अलग क्रिकेट एसोसिएशंस बनी हैं उनको इस समस्या का समाधान करना है। BCCI अध्यक्ष के नाते मैंने यहाँ पर स्वयं कमेटी को भेजा, विचार किया और हमारा प्रयास है कि कोई ना कोई इसका रास्ता निकाला जाए ताकि उत्तराखंड के प्रतिभाशाली क्रिकेट खिलाड़ियों को लंबा इंतजार ना करना पड़े। और मेरा तो यहाँ तक प्रयास रहेगा कि उत्तराखंड में बड़े बड़े मैचेस, बड़े टूर्नामेंट्स भी यहाँ पर जल्द से जल्द करवाए जाए।
All right, that was Anurag Thakur, BCCI President, making two very important points. First of all, he says that we will have to wait and see if, given today's observations, whether we can host matches. Secondly, he says we will call a meeting with all the state associations and ask them if they can implement all the Lodha reforms. Sharda, was this a line of defense that you expected from Anurag? That's what BCCI has been doing, talking to state associations, but they haven't yet implemented any of the reforms, or the contentious issues at least.
Yes, I mean, this is said that, everyone tells you that we haven't read the order. When the Lodha panel released its report, the first response came from Mr. Rajesh Shukla, who said these recommendations are not binding, which turned out to be a massive incorrect interpretation of them. And what Nikhil was just saying a couple of minutes ago about there being no ads, I think it's important to clarify here that that a few months ago or a few weeks ago, I'm not very precise, the amicus curiae, which is the friend of the court of the Mr. Gopal Subramaniam, he told Chief Justice Thakur that there are two pieces of recommendations that cannot be imposed. One is this restriction on advertising in the IPL and one-day internationals and so on, and the other is that you cannot have two members of the franchises present on the governing council, apex council, call it what you like, of the IPL. So those two recommendations have actually been stood down, and we have to make it, it has to be known that those two recommendations are not applicable anymore, that the advertising rule is completely not applicable anymore. There are going to be as many ads as they want on IPL, and to disrupt the audience's sort of continuity about watching cricket. But I think the BCCI is going to try and stick to its stance that it has all the while, and maybe perhaps what is happening is that they are pushing the Chief Justice to see how far he can go just before he retires in January. They're pushing him to see whether he'll actually do something as severe as remove them from their posts. I think that's the point that it's come to now. He's sort of curtailing the financial powers of the key officials of the BCCI, but whether he's going to remove them and change the structure of governance and so on directly himself, that's what I think they're going to be tempted to try and push to its limit.
Right, the next hearing in the case is on December 5th. Shivani is also live with us. Shivani did that exclusive interview with Justice Lodha. Shivani, what was Justice Lodha's reaction? Does he expect the BCCI to finally fall in line, or is he still expecting some resistance from the cricket board?
Well, Justice Lodha very clearly said that, so far we all know what the view of the BCCI, what the actions of the BCCI have been. Their opposition has been quite consistent. They come up with some posturing or the other routinely, like the posturing recently that we won't be able to hold matches if our funds are restricted. But his main point is that the Supreme Court felt that this was important, and this is a step in the right direction to force compliance by the BCCI. They've also given them time, 2 weeks to file an affidavit and suggest how they'll implement. They want a timeline. But Justice Lodha clearly said that the financial irregularities, or transparency rather, is something they had mentioned in their report as well of Jan 4, 2016. It's an important issue. And the court felt that the financial powers should be given to an auditor and Justice Lodha panel, so that the BCCI is forced into compliance. But I asked him about their view and the amicus curiae's view on sacking the top brass. And he said very clearly, we made our views on the impediments to the implementations of this order very clear. Now it's up to the court to decide whether they go to that extent and ask for the administrators, current administrators, to give way, or whether now it depends on the BCCI's response in 2 weeks' time, whether they give a timeline or they come back and say the same things. Because remember, there's a back and forth happening between the BCCI and the states now. States are asking them to guide them. BCCI is saying, you take a call whether you can run or not. But important thing is that the court order says that beyond a certain threshold, they have to take permission. Till day-to-day matters, only an oversee kind of role will be played.
Right.